Guys, today we're going to learn what the UX process is and how to actually implement it into your day-to-day work, how simple it is, and why it's not super special. So let's get into it. What is going on, guys? It is your boy Brandon Groce. I'm a designer and digital strategist for Fortune 500s, and I'm your favorite social media coach. Guys, today we're going to learn what the UX process is and how to actually implement it into your day-to-day work, how simple it is, and why it's not super special. So let's get into it. Guys, I want to talk about why it's not super special. I want to explain why I said that and really how this is just a framework that anybody can steal to get a outcome that is just highly optimized for helping you get from where you are to where you want to be, but in a step-by-step iterative process. And what that means basically, guys, because I don't like all the industry terms of like the iterative, no. The UX process. It's not anything super special. It's just a step-by-step process that allows us to get consistent results and allows us to consistently, one, explain to our clients our steps, and two, allows us to take the accurate steps in terms of coming up with our goals, where we are, where do we want to be, researching how we get from A to B, drafting up some ideas of how exactly we can get to A to B, and then actually implementing those designs, or really what the sketches or the ideas were. Then finally testing our ideas to see, does what we came up with work? Does it suck ass? And maybe coming up with some other ideas that would be better suited to help us get from A to B. It is a repetitive process, okay? It's an iterative process. You're creating and recreating and testing what it is that you are trying to put out forth into the world to help you get from point A to point B in terms of your goals. So with that said, I'm going to leave an image right here for you guys so you guys can see the circular process. I'm really going to have to look that up after this. But it's a super simple process. The reason I'm dumbing it down is because this is not something that is super special. This is just a framework, and what a framework is something that can be implemented to help you get a particular outcome. The outcome of the UX process is a very good product that is tested and is most optimized from getting you from point A to point B. That's why there's testing involved. You're constantly testing what you have now and other things that could be better to help you get a little bit closer to your end goal. So with that said, that is the simplest of how much I can boil down the UX process. Now I kind of want to explain for those of you who are building your portfolio and those of you who are trying to actually implement this into your workflow. Let's start with that. One, I want you guys to Google the UX process. I want you guys to print that shit out, put it on your desk, and anytime you have a project, I want you to actually go through each one of those steps. And if you guys need a little bit more detail, or if you want me to go into each one of those steps in a granular fashion, please let me know. I would totally do that. But there's a whole bunch of resources online that basically just say, understand your client, what are their goals, strategize how you can help them get from A to B, draft some ideas that we can actually implement into this project to help us get from A to B. Now we're going to actually start to implement what we've drafted. Let's actually test what we've implemented. And let's finally go back. If it's working, let's create some other things that we think will help us get a better result and test it against what we have. And that is the cycle. It's strategize, draft, design, implement, test, and it goes like that. So if that's not enough, you guys can Google a whole bunch of different ways that other designers use this process in their projects. And that way you guys can get a little bit of understanding of how to actually use this in a project specific setting. But other than that, for those of you guys who are building portfolios, when you guys do projects, this is how employers specifically want to look if you understand the UX process. When you have a project, they want to see from end to end your thinking. You basically show how you understood your clients or your project's goals, how you went about researching how to get your client or your project from where it was to where the end goal was. How did you do that research? What did you look into? From that, you have a section in terms of what it is that you drafted or designed or really ideated about in terms of implementing to get that project or your client from where they were to where they want to be. That's the drafting and design portion. Next, you basically show how exactly or really what it is that you guys decided on to implement for stage 1. Next, you were going to talk about how you tested that implementation. How did you test it? What did you test it against? What did you create to test the first design against? Talking about how you tested it and really tried to prove your design was correct or incorrect and really improve it. That is literally how I would lay it out. For example, if I'm building a cookie sales website, client says we want to be able to sell 2% more cookies to our customers in the next 2 months. How do I prove that? I start off with top of the page. This was the project. Here were the client's goals. And this is where we started off. These were the current metrics. This is where the client was. This is where they wanted to go. Now let's talk about specifically the research that I did in order to improve them 2%. This is the research that I did. This is what I found. And because I found these things, this is what I think by implementing in the drafts that I can get them closer to a 2% increase in conversion. So with that said, I would have all of my drafts in terms of how I think we can get the site more conversion optimized in order to get their customers to buy more cookies or increase sales for the business. From that, after my drafts and basically ideation section of that page for that project in my portfolio, then I would talk about what did we actually implement. From all the ideas I came up with, what was the one thing that we implemented? How did I test it? What was the test like? What did I use to test against it? And what was the outcome of that? How exactly did you get your client from where they were to where they wanted to be? And what was that end result that you gave them through that entire process that I just went through? With that said, guys, remember it's not super special. Remember that this is just a framework. And for those of you guys who are implementing the UX process in terms of how you do your work so that you guys can show your future employers your thinking, remember the case that I gave here in terms of how I would lay it out. Let me know what you guys think about this episode. Was it too lengthy? Did I run my mouth too much? Or did you actually get some value out of this? Let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Groce, your favorite designer, digital strategist, and social media coach, out.